California, Mr. Costa is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for this important hearing, and thank you, Dr. Shah, for the good work you're doing. I'm going to cover your efforts in a host of countries that we're focused in and like some quick responses. Obviously, it was noted earlier about our efforts with regards to Gaza and the West Bank. How would you assess the results of the infusion thus far of aid that has been provided and the Palestinians' ability to absorb the large amount of American aid quickly?
Well, we tracked that very carefully before making.
No, I know you noted that earlier.
Right.
How would you assess it?
So I think there's been more success in some areas than others. There have been successes in infrastructure and the development of road networks and building schools. There have been successes in health, in particular with building a stronger health system. I think there are real challenges, especially in Gaza, where there, for a variety of reasons, have been issues with both transport and mobility of goods and individuals, as well as some interference. And so there's much to do to improve the effectiveness of those efforts, and we're working through our diplomatic channels to help improve that.
I'd like you to provide at a later date a written notice of both those challenged areas. In Afghanistan, Pakistan, obviously those are harsh environments. Many of us have visited those countries in the past. It's my understanding that USAID personnel are only there for a year at length. However, as we know, after the year ends, most people are getting their feet on the ground, getting some level of understanding of local knowledge. Do you think that's too short of a time period as they're just becoming to be experts in their field, or are you considering extending the time?
We would like to encourage staff to stay for an extended period of time. We're doing a number of things to facilitate a more effective personnel situation in Afghanistan, in particular, related to improved
That could be an
recruiting.
Administrative change, couldn't it? I mean, if you provide the opportunity to extend beyond a year?
Well, we have to balance that with our recruiting and hiring and onboarding process and making sure we have enough numbers of
What if an
personnel.
individual decides in Pakistan or Afghanistan they'd like to stay beyond a year? What's the normal course?
They absolutely can if they would like to.
Okay. As it relates to, I've had a little bit of experience with some folks from my area who have actually taken the time and contributed to build a hospital in Afghanistan outside of Kabul. I've seen where some of the other money that has been spent by us, where we've had a lot of problems with corruption. It just seems to me that we don't have it right yet in terms of how, whether we're building a road, whether we're building a school, whether we're building housing, or in this case, the hospital. For $2 million, they were able to build a state-of-the-art hospital in Afshar Hospital, 120 beds with seemingly no corruption that was involved. What are you guys doing to figure out how you can avoid or learn from your past mistakes?
Well, first I'll say that I'm aware of that hospital and appreciate the advance that represents and the work from members of your district. I do think our work in Afghanistan is tracked quite closely. Health is a good sector example. We were very selective in working with the Ministry of Health. It took a number of years to build the financial management and procurement system and other tracking systems to give us the confidence that we could enter into the agreement we entered into with them last year. We've now started to flow resources through that ministry, but we track every procurement action quite carefully. We monitor every strategic decision, and in addition to that, we have a series of audits that take place both from our eye and the Special Inspector General to make sure that those resources are being spent effectively. As a result of our health sector investments, we believe we've more than tripled access to the health system for Afghanistan, for the population of Afghanistan, and we think that's a tremendous achievement. We're very optimistic in that space.
Quickly, before my time expires, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see us maybe do more work as it relates to determining how well we're applying the smart power and to ensure that the money is going into the right places. Which brings me to Iraq. What would you say as we ramp down and USAID ramps up in Iraq are the lessons learned from the experience at the Department of Defense?
Well, sir, I think there are a broad range of lessons learned. Some relate to contracting and the risks of very large and poorly supervised.
And you're going to apply those lessons?
Absolutely. We have a contracting reform effort underway.
And finally, what do you think your biggest challenges are this year?
Well, our efforts in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Haiti, as well as our health and food efforts, when you put all that together, will severely strain our workforce. And so building a strong workforce and our ability to do that will be pretty critical to success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. The gentleman's time has expired, and now the gentleman from Minnesota.